Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Roman Reigns is set to fight CM Punk and Seth Rollins in a triple threat match at WWE WrestleMania 41. WWE analyst Sam Roberts recently suggested a scenario in which the OTC could embark on a reign of terror after the show of shows. The former undisputed WWE Universal Champion has seemingly been a babyface since his return at SummerSlam last year. However, he suffered a massive setback last night on SmackDown when his wiseman, Paul Heyman, agreed to be in CM Punk's corner at WrestleMania 41. The Second City Saint also took him out with a GTS, leaving him lying in the ring as the show went off the air. Speaking on his Not Some Wrestling podcast, Roberts disclosed that he would like to see Reigns win the triple threat match in Las Vegas and then confront Heyman, telling the 59-year-old that the OG Bloodline leader did not need the Wiseman. Meanwhile, he suggested the OTC could embark on a reign of terror after the premium live event. "I would like Roman Reigns to win this triple threat match, and then, to look at Paul Heyman and tell him, 'You need me. I don't need you.' And then go back on another reign of terror," he said. 11:04-11:20. The WWE analyst thinks Roman Reigns may have subtly hinted at turning heel. Last night on SmackDown, Roman Reigns wore an OTC t-shirt instead of the white TC one he had been sporting lately. Speaking on his Not Some Wrestling podcast, WWE analyst Sam Roberts claimed it might have been a subtle clue that he was leaning toward becoming a heel. The 41-year-old predicted that Paul Heyman would be portrayed as a hero due to his association with CM Punk in the ongoing storyline with the OTC. The betrayals that Roman has gone through, more than half, the betrayer is portrayed as the hero. Solo Sikoa, villain, and Seth Rollins, at the time, villain. But Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso, heroes. Now, Paul Heyman, I would argue that Paul Heyman is portrayed as the hero. I would say when you look at the dynamics of this match, CM Punk is the purest babyface in the way the story is being told. And I think that will help shape who Roman Reigns is going forward, he said. It will be interesting to see if Reigns succeeds in overcoming Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania 41. It was a moment that left the WWE Universe breathless, as sparks flew under the blinding lights of SmackDown's main event. The Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, once again stood in the center of the ring, but this time, something was different. His eyes burned with a fury that hadn't been seen even during his dominant tenure as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. After a seismic confrontation that shook the very foundations of WWE, analysts now believe Roman Reigns is poised to unleash a reign of terror unlike anything the company has witnessed. The stage was set at the end of SmackDown when Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and a returning Jey Uso confronted Reigns following weeks of escalating tensions. What began as verbal jousting exploded into an all-out brawl, with Reigns unleashing vicious Superman punches and spears that seemed to carry more venom than ever before. He wasn't just defending his legacy, he was lashing out, consumed by rage and the fear of his empire crumbling. Longtime WWE analyst Corey Graves, speaking on the post-show panel, issued a chilling warning: "This isn't the same Roman Reigns we've known. This is a man cornered, betrayed by his own blood, challenged by the rising tide of new and returning heroes. When a lion is backed into a corner, it fights to kill. Make no mistake, Roman is about to embark on a reign of terror. The signs are all there. For months, the cracks in the bloodline have been growing wider. The departures of Jey and Jimmy Uso, the uneasy alliance of Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman's increasingly anxious expressions backstage have told a story of a kingdom in peril. But Reigns, ever the strategist, has decided to take matters into his own hands. Sources backstage suggest Reigns has been personally involved in crafting a ruthless plan to crush any opposition, family or foe, who dares to challenge his authority. It's personal now," Booker T added during a panel discussion. "Roman's not just fighting to keep a title anymore. He's fighting to remind the entire WWE Universe who he is. When personal pride and power collide, you get chaos. And Roman Reigns thrives in chaos. Indeed, chaos seems inevitable. Reports indicate Reigns has been recruiting shadowy allies from his extended Samoan dynasty, looking beyond even WWE's active roster. Rumors swirl of potential alliances with NXT powerhouses and even international stars with bloodline ties. This calculated expansion could transform the bloodline into an unstoppable force spanning brands and continents. Fans already caught a glimpse of this terrifying potential when, on a recent episode of Raw, Reigns orchestrated an ambush on Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes during their tag team match. The attack was brutal and methodical, with Reigns personally delivering a bone-crunching spear to Rhodes through the barricade. The message was clear: no one is safe. But perhaps the most unsettling part of this new Roman Reigns is the psychological warfare. Known for his mind games, Reigns has elevated this to an art form. He's been targeting his rivals' insecurities, whispering poison into the ears of their allies, and exploiting old wounds. Jey Uso, in particular, finds himself once again in Reigns' crosshairs, haunted by memories of past manipulation. During a recent backstage segment, Reigns confronted Jey with chilling words: "You think you're free, Us? You think walking away changes what you are to me? Blood is forever. You can't run from the head of the table." Such statements have left many in the WWE Universe wondering if Jey, or anyone, can truly escape Reigns' grasp. Meanwhile, Paul Heyman, ever the advocate, has publicly expressed both concern and admiration for this darker incarnation of Reigns. "My tribal chief has always been a visionary," Heyman declared in an exclusive interview. But now, he's operating on a level the rest of the roster can't even comprehend. They want to fight him in the ring, but Roman Reigns is fighting a psychological war, a war of domination. Insiders claim Heyman has been advising Reigns on escalating the psychological warfare, suggesting surprise ambushes, manipulation of stipulations, and even leveraging authority figures like Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce to bend the rules in Roman's favor. If these strategies come to fruition, Reigns' reign of terror could extend well beyond pay-per-views and main events, seeping into every crevice of WWE programming. The timing could not be more dangerous. With WrestleMania season always on the horizon, challengers are sharpening their blades. Cody Rhodes remains hungry to finish the story, Seth Rollins seeks redemption as a fighting champion, and wild cards like Gunther and Randy Orton are circling like vultures. But all these men may find themselves not facing the Roman Reigns of old, but a tribal chief reborn in fury and vengeance. Fans have taken to social media, divided between awe and dread. One popular post summed up the sentiment perfectly: "We begged for a savage Roman, and now we've unleashed a monster. Be careful what you wish for." As Roman Reigns tightens his grip and prepares to escalate his campaign of destruction, one question looms over the WWE landscape: who can stop him? Some believe it will take a coalition of the strongest and most strategic minds in WWE. Others whisper about internal rebellion, perhaps from Solo Sikoa, whose quiet demeanor masks growing discontent. And there are even those who cling to the hope that the very spirit of the WWE Universe, rallying behind a beloved underdog, might be enough to topple the self-proclaimed tribal chief. But for now, Roman Reigns marches forward, his eyes cold, his resolve unshakable. The reign of terror has begun, and until someone rises to meet the storm, the WWE Universe will tremble beneath the shadow of the head of the table. Roman Reigns has seemingly given a subtle clue about his future on WWE SmackDown. Roman Reigns was part of a heated segment last night on WWE SmackDown. WWE analyst Sam Roberts pointed out that the tribal chief may have given a subtle clue about his future during his latest appearance. The former undisputed WWE champion arrived late to SmackDown last night and headed straight to the ring. Seth Rollins and CM Punk later confronted him. As they all stood in the ring, the Second City Saint finally revealed the favor Reigns' wiseman Paul Heyman owed him. He asked the Hall of Famer to be in his corner instead of the tribal chiefs during the triple threat match at WrestleMania. He also took out a shocked Reigns with a GTS. On his Not Some Wrestling podcast, Roberts suggested that Reigns' future could see him lean toward becoming a heel again. He pointed out that the 39-year-old ditching his YTC t-shirt to wear his older OTC one might have been a subtle clue of that happening. Roman Reigns was wearing a new t-shirt and the new t-shirt was back to the old initials, OTC, Original Tribal Chief, Only Tribal Chief, whatever it is. To me, it's subtle, but OTC has a slightly more heelish connotation than YTC. The Only Tribal Chief is fitting for a potential villain. Your Tribal Chief, when it's meant to be taken seriously, that's more of a babyface, that's more of a hero, he said. The 41-year-old analyst suggested Heyman would be portrayed as a hero in the ongoing storyline as he gets associated with Punk, predicting that it would help shape Reigns' future. The betrayals that Roman has gone through, more than half, the betrayer is portrayed as the hero. Solo Sikoa villain, Seth Rollins, at the time, villain. But Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, heroes. Now, Paul Heyman, I would argue that Paul Heyman is portrayed as the hero. I would say when you look at the dynamics of this match, CM Punk is the purest babyface in the way the story is being told. And I think that will help shape who Roman Reigns is going forward. 1329 to 1456. Roman Reigns' potential heel turn could lead to a huge match at WWE WrestleMania 42. On a previous episode of Not Some Wrestling, WWE analyst Sam Roberts suggested that Roman Reigns could revert to being a villain heading into WrestleMania 42. The Rory Cap host proposed a scenario where the tribal chief would square off with a babyface Jacob Fatu at next year's Show of Shows. Meanwhile, you have Roman Reigns over here, who can build as a heel and build as a heel and build as a heel. You can start to shift back in that direction until you get a WrestleMania 42 match between Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns with Jacob as the babyface and Roman Reigns as the heel. I would love it, he said. Seeing how Reigns' character develops in the coming weeks would be interesting, especially given the recent turn of events. Friday night's episode of WWE SmackDown was already highly anticipated, but no one could have predicted the wave of speculation that would follow Roman Reigns' cryptic message. As the lights dimmed and the unmistakable notes of the head of the table theme echoed through the arena, fans rose to their feet in unison. Yet, beneath the usual aura of dominance, something felt different about Roman Reigns tonight. Clad in his black with-a-once hoodie and custom Samoan beads around his neck, Reigns walked to the ring with a purpose, but it wasn't the usual swagger of invincibility. His eyes, sharp as ever, seemed to scan the crowd not just as a ruler gazes upon his kingdom, but as a man taking in every inch of his legacy. The atmosphere was electric. Paul Heyman, noticeably more anxious than usual, trailed behind him, clutching the Universal Championship with both hands as if it might slip away at any moment. Even Solo Sikoa, the enforcer of the bloodline, carried an almost pensive look. Something was clearly brewing. When Reigns finally took the mic, a hush fell over the crowd. "For years now, I've stood right here. And I've told you all the truth," he began, his voice steady but carrying a weight that made the audience hang on his every word. "I said I was the head of the table. I said I was the tribal chief. And I proved it." The crowd erupted with cheers and boos alike, but Roman simply raised a hand to quiet them. "I smashed them all. I stacked them, and I pinned them," Reigns continued, referencing his iconic victory at WrestleMania 37. "But what happens when there's no one left to smash? What happens when the island of relevancy starts feeling a little too small for a man like me?" The words sent ripples through the WWE universe. Was this a hint? Was the tribal chief contemplating an end to his reign? The commentators, sensing the gravity of the moment, fell silent as Reigns paced the ring, the crowd reacting to every movement. "I built this," he said, gesturing around the arena. "I built SmackDown. I built this whole damn company on my back for almost 4 years. And I could keep doing it. If I wanted to." The deliberate choice of words, "if I wanted to," didn't go unnoticed. Heyman's eyes widened, almost pleading with Reigns not to continue down this path of thought. Solo Sikoa shifted his weight uncomfortably, his expression a mix of loyalty and concern. "But maybe." Roman paused, allowing the tension to thicken. "Just maybe, it's time for me to take what I've done here and conquer something bigger." A murmur swept through the crowd. Could Roman be teasing a crossover into Hollywood full-time? An international WWE tour where he takes the bloodline global? Or was he even alluding to stepping away from the squared circle altogether? Before anyone could process it fully, Reigns continued, a slight smirk creeping onto his face. "You think this is the end? No. This is just the beginning. The tribal chief does not retire. He evolves." The crowd erupted again, this time with a deafening mix of excitement and uncertainty. Roman Reigns, the master of mind games, had just played the entire WWE universe like a fiddle. As if to drive the point home, he turned to Paul Heyman and issued a chilling command. "Heyman. Tell him." Heyman, ever the loyal wise man, took the microphone with a trembling hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a farewell," Heyman declared, his voice wavering between fear and reverence. "This is an evolution. Roman Reigns is preparing for something greater than we've ever witnessed. Something unprecedented. And you will all acknowledge him for generations to come." The words hung heavy in the air. It wasn't confirmation, but it wasn't denial either. Roman had carefully walked the line, leaving the WWE universe with just enough ambiguity to fuel endless speculation. As Reigns stood tall in the center of the ring, he raised the Universal Championship high above his head, soaking in the moment. The camera zoomed in on his face, and for a brief second, a flicker of something rare appeared in his eyes. Vulnerability? Contemplation? Or was it the calm before an even greater storm? The possibilities felt endless. Backstage, chaos erupted. Superstars were seen watching the broadcast intently, whispers spreading like wildfire. Cody Rhodes, with a knowing smirk, simply nodded to himself. Seth Rollins, watching from the locker room, looked intrigued, as if sensing an opportunity. Even a brief shot of The Rock, rumored for years to face Reigns in a dream match, flashed across the screen in a promotional graphic, sending the fans into further frenzy. Social media lit up instantly. Hashtags like #RomanReignsFuture, #TribalChiefEvolution, and #SmackDownAftermath trended worldwide within minutes. Speculation ranged from Roman preparing to unify all the major titles in WWE, to finally passing the torch to Solo Sikoa, or even launching his own wrestling faction outside of WWE altogether. Whatever the future holds for Roman Reigns, one thing is certain: he remains the puppet master, controlling not only the fate of the bloodline but the heartbeat of WWE itself. And as the show faded to black, with Roman Reigns standing tall yet contemplative in the center of his island of relevancy, the WWE Universe was left with one burning question. What is the Tribal Chief planning next? As always with Roman Reigns, the answers won't come easy. But rest assured, when the next move is revealed, the entire world will be watching, ready to acknowledge him once more.